It's Friday, August 28th, and this is now on HNN.
I think this is unprecedented for anybody in the healthcare field, including physicians.
Oahu hospitals are at risk of becoming overwhelmed as coronavirus cases soar.
Japan's longest-serving prime minister says he's resigning for health reasons. We've got new details on the announcement.
The hatchings are pretty exciting. I got to go down to one. It was actually a nest we didn't know we had, but we got reports from some residents that there was hatchlings on the beach.
These stories plus, welcome to the world. Baby Honu finally emerged from their nest at Bellows Beach. That's coming up on This Is Now. Good afternoon on this Aloha Friday. You're watching This Is Now. I'm Jonathan, your director. Alongside Ashley here, we begin with breaking news from the State Department of Health.
Hey everyone, health officials say 4 more patients with COVID-19 have died, bringing Hawaii's death toll to 59. We're told 3 of the fatalities are on Oahu and 1 is from Maui County. DOH is also reporting 265 new cases today. The county breakdown shows 233 of the new cases are on Oahu, 26 are on the Big Island, and 6 are on Maui. We checked in with Straub, Kapiolani, and Queens Medical Centers today about the status of their facilities. Here's what hospital officials had to say.
We've definitely seen an increase in patient population, multiple family members, our crossover patients, sometimes on different floors, so people are separated. We have a significant increase.
This is a critical moment in our community. We are at a tipping point. If you look at all the data, we have had a dramatic increase in the number of people that have COVID and the number of people that need care in the hospital. To give you an example, if we looked back on July 25th and said, how many people do we have in the hospital with COVID? It was about 20. A month later, it's over 100.
Right. Well, of course we're concerned. We would much rather see the numbers drop, as everyone would. But we are prepared. We are coping just fine. We pay very close attention. We have command centers at each of our hospitals and at the system level where we're watching minute by minute, day by day, how many patients we have in the hospital, how many in the emergency department, and so far we're doing okay.
Now let's toss it over to Grace Lee, who's with a nurse talking about the surge and the stresses it brings to frontline workers.
You know, we've been seeing those triple-digit numbers for weeks now, and we know that within a short amount of time, that translates into people heading to the hospital, whether it's the ICU or the ER. So we're bringing in one of the frontline workers. Cortez Fabia is an emergency room nurse at Straub Medical Center, and he's joining us now live. And Cortez, you know, just starting off, how much of a change have you seen recently? How many more patients have you seen who have been coronavirus positive in your ER?
Can't say the exact numbers off my head, but there has definitely been an increase as far as patients with influx to our emergency department. And it has been more time consuming because of the amount of time we have to don up our PPE to go out there and specifically take care of those patients, plus the other critical patients we have coming in, such as cardiac issues. And we also have a COVID tent outside of our emergency department that is also staffed by our nurses and aides. And to be in that tent, it's pretty sporty these days.
I can only imagine what that's like. What I wanted to ask you also, I feel like there is some sort of assumption that this only affects older people. Are you seeing all types of patients, all ages?
From my time in New York City to being back on the island now, the one thing I could definitely say is that this virus does not discriminate against age, race, anything. It reacts differently for every person. I've seen people as young as their 30s, like myself, get the virus and are also COVID positive, and I've seen people up to 65, 70 that are getting it from retirement homes as well.
How severe are the symptoms that you're seeing in the ER?
Well, sometimes they can be slight. It'll be small headaches, maybe some GI issues. Some people come in with loss of taste or smell. Fevers, that's usually a dead giveaway right there.
You know, right now, there's a huge concern. We're really trying to turn these numbers around, bring down that curve. You worked in New York City at the height of the pandemic. How can you compare the two experiences? How are they different?
Well, New York was definitely a significant emotional event that made me grow as a human being and as a healthcare worker. Being here on island, seeing the numbers go up each day, I'm slowly reminded of my time in New York. And I hope that as a community and as a team that we stay ahead of this curve and make sure we don't go in that direction, because we're at a very critical point on the island right now as how to stay ahead of this curve and to diminish these numbers.
Do you think that we can still turn this around?
I do. I totally believe we can turn this around if we do the right things. Do not hang out in large groups. Wash your hands. Clean your cell phones. Don't go to other person's households. Like, just stick to yourself. If you feel that you've been exposed to somebody, if you feel that you have the symptoms, go ahead and segregate. Stay away from your loved ones. I know it's going to be hard. Stay in another room for the 2 weeks that's mandated.
Well, Cortez, I just want to say we appreciate your time here and we appreciate your work that you have done in our healthcare industry.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, Cortez Fabia from Straub Medical Center.
More surge testing is set for today at 4 locations on Oahu. They're Ewa Mahiko District Park, Palolo District Park, Waimanalo District Park, and Kayaka District Park in Haleiwa. Testing sites are open until 2, but they've been staying open longer to meet the demand. We're told nearly 11,000 people have been swabbed in the last 2 days.
Amid the pandemic, a lot of us have shifted to telecommuting and homeschooling, putting a heavy strain on internet bandwidth. The company Whistleout, which is a comparison website that assists consumers in shopping tech, wanted to see how the pandemic has affected internet speeds across the country. And they say internet speeds in Hawaii has slowed down, way down. I just spoke to Sherry Riggs from Whistleout to explain.
Well, we took over 700,000 internet speed tests from around the country, and we found that Hawaii was down across the board 8% when it came to internet speeds. So Hawaii is 8% slower than it was before the pandemic started. So we compared 2 sets of data. One from before the pandemic started and into the beginning. So that was mid-January to mid-March. We had a data set of internet speeds. And then we also tested internet speeds again from mid-March to mid-July and found this data.
Okay, so what are the trends you're seeing across the country and compared to us? I know you said we're one of the top slowdown states. What else are you seeing?
That would be West Virginia, Delaware, Connecticut, and Washington, D.C. all saw major slowdowns. Overall, though, across the country, we saw internet speeds increase by 10 megabits per second, which is fairly substantial. So it went from about 84 to 94 megabits per second across the country.
And what's the reason in these variations? Why are some places like here slowing down and other places speeding up?
It's kind of hard to say, but we looked at the states that saw the biggest increases, and we saw that their states were making a big push to create better infrastructure for internet. So increasing their fiber optic, increasing more bandwidth for their cable internet. And we didn't see that with the states that had slower speeds.
Thousands of people are gathering on the National Mall today on the anniversary of the 1963 Civil Rights March on Washington.
And to say once and for all, get your knee off our necks.
Speakers include Reverend Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III. They're calling for comprehensive police reform and racial equality. Meanwhile, protests continue in Wisconsin following the police shooting of a black man named Jason Blake. Today, the teenager accused of killing 2 demonstrators was due in court in Illinois for an extradition hearing. However, a judge agreed to postpone it. Mola Lengi has more.
We do not wish to be known for violence of any kind.
Kenosha, Wisconsin has become an unwilling home to 2 tragedies, one stemming from the other. First, last Sunday, officials say 29-year-old Jacob Blake was shot in the back 7 times by Kenosha police officer Rustin Shesky. Blake, who's now paralyzed from the waist down, is recovering in the hospital. We've learned a new detail. Blake is being handcuffed to his hospital bed. At a press conference, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers was asked if he was concerned Blake is being handcuffed.
Hell yes. I would have no personal understanding why that would be necessary. Certainly, he's paid That's a horrific price already.
The Wisconsin Department of Justice is investigating the shooting. Officer Shesky has not been charged. Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes.
We don't need an investigation to know that Blake's shooting falls in a long and painful pattern of violence. And this is a pattern of violence that happens against black lives too often.
The second tragedy came Tuesday when 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse allegedly shot 3 people who had gathered to protest Blake's shooting. 36-year-old Joseph Rosenbaum and 26-year-old Anthony Huber were killed. Hannah Giddings was Huber's girlfriend.
And it's just not fair that he had to die like that. Like, he just turned 26. Like, we had plans for everything. Like, we had plans for everything.
Mola Lengi, CBS News, Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Well, the Republican National Convention has wrapped up. Last night, the president accepted the GOP nomination for re-election.
Over the next 4 years, we will prove worthy of this magnificent legacy. We will reach stunning new heights, and we will show that the world, for America, there is a dream, and it is not beyond your reach. Together we are unstoppable. Together we are unbeatable, because together we are the proud citizens of the United States of America.
Now in other political news, we've learned that Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, will be stepping down, citing health concerns. We've got Will Ripley standing by with much more on that.
Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe, had big dreams of a Japanese comeback. A comeback marred by a series of setbacks.
Tokyo.
The Tokyo 2020 Olympics, Abe's greatest achievement, could become his greatest disappointment. Japan spent billions only to see the games postponed by the coronavirus pandemic. The games were a cornerstone of Abe's plan to revive a struggling economy and transform Japan into a global destination. Abe promised a brighter future, a future looking bleak after 2011's massive earthquake, tsunami, and Fukushima nuclear meltdown. Abenomics was an ambitious plan to overhaul Japan's economy with stimulus and reform. It led to record-high government debt and failed to make a lasting dent in decades of deflation. Problems made worse by Japan's aging population and shrinking workforce. Abe also tried to strengthen Japan's military, reinterpreting the nation's pacifist constitution drafted after World War II. The move led to massive protests in the Japanese capital. Abe's visits to a controversial war shrine angered his Asian neighbors. He was criticized for not making a new apology at the 70th anniversary of World War II, accused of trying to rewrite Japan's brutal wartime past. Abe began fighting for more military power during his first time as prime minister in 2006. At 52, he became Japan's youngest post-war leader. Corruption scandals within his party caused Abe's popularity to plummet. He resigned a year later, blaming health problems. Abe had ambition and roots in a powerful political dynasty, 2 former prime ministers in his family. Re-elected in 2012, Abe declared, "Japan is back." He tried to raise Japan's profile on a global stage, developing allies in Europe, India, and Southeast Asia, trying to mend frosty relations with China. Abe made history in 2016, appearing alongside former U.S. President Barack Obama in Hiroshima and later Pearl Harbor.
Between the United States and Japan.
Abe was one of the first world leaders to form an alliance with Donald Trump, taking the U.S. president out for a hamburger in Tokyo. Will Ripley, CNN, Hong Kong.
The COVID resurgence has dampened the U.S. recession recovery. Howard Dykes has more.
July consumer spending rose less than the 3% economists expected, producing a far smaller increase than either of the 2 previous months. This morning's Commerce Department report shows how rushing to reopen did harm to economic recovery. The Gap plans hundreds of store closures after losing $62 million in the spring, but Gap stock improved as it announced 3 million new customers found online. Local GAPs, fate uncertain, are at Ala Moana, Waikele, and Lahaina. The GAP also owns Old Navy. Coca-Cola plans to offer buyouts to 4,000 North American workers and go to involuntary layoffs after. Coke's entire workforce in the U.S. is 10,000. 17 business units will be consolidated into 9 new divisions. Also, MGM Resorts, the owner of Bellagio, says this morning it plans to cut 18,000 jobs as its casino's business crashes.
To severe weather now, Laura continues to threaten parts of the country with heavy rains, even tornadoes, after leaving a trail of devastation in the Gulf Coast. Omar Villafranca has more.
Aerial views of southwest Louisiana revealed the extent of the jaw-dropping destruction left behind by Laura.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like anybody was spared the intensity of this storm.
One of the strongest storms to ever hit the U.S., Laura slammed ashore Thursday near Lake Charles, packing 150-mile-per-hour winds and sending storm surge 10 feet high over homes and businesses. Craig Barker's childhood home was destroyed.
This used to be in the back of the house. This is probably not going to be home anymore. I don't know whether we'll be able to rebuild it.
Stanley Hasselton was among dozens of residents who chose to ride out the storm in the home he just moved into in November.
There's businesses gone, there's people without homes, so it was dumb. I said we'll never do it again.
Parts of Louisiana are now experiencing widespread water and power outages, hampering recovery and cleanup efforts.
We want you to be prepared to be without power for not days, but I would suggest that you be prepared for weeks.
The storm left a gaping hole in the Miller family's home when a tree smashed through it, crushing 14-year-old Cynthia. They called her Cindy.
I walked to try and find Cindy because she wasn't talking, and I tried to wake her up and she wouldn't wake up, and it took me a little bit to realize she couldn't.
A family also died of carbon monoxide poisoning from a generator used near their home.
Chain it to a tree if there's one left out in the yard, but don't let a generator cost your life.
Officials say the total extent of the damage may not be known for days because many roads are not passable. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards says the journey to normality will be a marathon. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Heartbreaking images and stories there for sure. And can you even imagine being without power for that
weeks?
Yeah, especially in the stay-at-home pandemic life. So many people are at home too, and it's very hot there as well. All right, guys, we've got to take you outside to get a check of our weather. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy with a look at our weekend.
How's it on this Aloha Friday? We're still looking at cyclone-free conditions in the Central Pacific, and we're going to see more trade wind weather for the next several days. In fact, the weather's not going to change in any significant way over the next 7 days. If anything, we'll have some minor fluctuations in wind speeds, and we'll have those windward and multiple showers mainly in the early morning and overnight hours. Winds will be picking up today, especially from Maui to Kauai, 10 to 20 miles an hour. And the outlier, of course, being the corner side of the Big Island. Light and variable winds will prevail on the corner side in West Hawaii, and that means it's going to be hot and sticky with higher humidity levels. Everybody else will see beautiful weather, but it's going to be sunny, it's going to be hot. We might even break the 90-degree mark for some leeward spots. There's not going to be a lot of surf for relief. In fact, 3 feet or less everywhere. No significant swells coming anytime soon. A minor boost is expected for South Shores over the weekend. And the next swell coming after that is a week from Saturday. So we're in for a nice long stretch of the best weather on the planet. So make sure you load up on the sunblock, drink a lot of water, and put on those shades. We'll have more details on air and online.
Let's check out those feeds. Here's what the internet is talking about on this Aloha Friday. Well, Ford Motor Companies is teaming up with a tech company and a real estate developer for this. It's automated parking valet.
Okay.
All right, so this is how it works. They're using here a Ford Escape test vehicle. It has the ability to drive and park itself. Okay, so here's how it works. The driver will leave the car in a designated area and use a smartphone app to send the car into the automated parking maneuver, which you just saw there. A driver will then use that same app when it wants to retrieve the car from a designated pickup area. Ford is only doing this as a private demonstration for now, and who knows what will happen next?
Yeah,
Will this be?
Is that the same model of our news car?
It is,
Oh.
but our parking is so
They don't park
tight.
themselves.
I know, and it's so tight in our parking garage.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
We should
could
get
use
that.
We could. It's the right color too. They're using the H&M blue there. What'd you find?
So this is an interesting potential partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So Walmart says it wants to team up with Microsoft to buy TikTok. Now the Chinese-owned social media app is looking for U.S. buyers to satisfy those government regulator concerns. You might be wondering though, why a retailer like Walmart would want to buy an app popular for its short videos. Well, it all comes down to shopping. So social commerce has been exploding around the world, especially in China. And so people will watch a short video on TikTok, then buy whatever the poster is selling. So Walmart basically wants to capitalize on that and reach larger audiences.
Still not into the TikTok.
I've not made a TikTok video. I've never even seen the app yet.
We'll try it out.
Well, okay, all right, we will. And Disney is retooling its upcoming animated movie Raya and the Last Dragon by adding a new writer, new directors, and a new lead voice actor, Kelly Marie Tran. Now, the Star Wars actress, she's going to voice Raya, a warrior on a quest to find a dragon that can save her kingdom from evil forces. Crazy rich Asian star Awkwafina voices the dragon. That's going to be pretty cool.
Very cool.
And the movie is the first Disney animated film inspired by Southeast Asia, and it's scheduled to arrive in theaters next March.
Awkwafina, definitely a celebrity I'd want to meet. She's super cool.
She seems very cool. And this is cool here at home. Baby turtles have begun emerging from the sand at Bellows Beach. Rick Desau reports it's the first hatching ever recorded at the military training area.
It's turtle time!
This baby honu was among the first to emerge from the sand at Bellows Beach earlier this month. After digging its way out, the hatchling was heading the wrong way before it was discovered by people monitoring the nests.
This one was rescued during the day. It was placed away from the beach and allowed to crawl into the water. It's a running gunner and it makes its way into the water.
The hatchings are pretty exciting. I got to go down to one. It was actually a nest we didn't know we had, but we got reports from some residents that there was hatchlings on the beach.
Marine Corps officials say that eggs from 4 nests have begun to hatch. They're monitoring and protecting at least 8 more nests at the beach. They say the turtles first began showing up at Bellows to lay their eggs in April, which they've never seen before. The tranquility of the beach during the pandemic may have enticed them to come ashore. Experts also think that many Hawaiian green sea turtles likely migrated to Bellows because parts of their original nesting grounds at the French frigate Shoals were damaged by a hurricane 2 years ago. Sea level rise may have also played a role.
I believe they're probably traveling back to find beaches that are not in the water, being inundated by tide and everything.
Along with a dozen nests at Bellows, another 3 nests were discovered here at Marine Corps Base Hawaii in July. Marine officials say that once they discovered the nests, they roped off areas and placed signs warning beachgoers about the turtles. They also made sure that military drills didn't disrupt the sites. About 20 to 30 volunteers also pitched in to help monitor the turtles.
The turtle nesting isn't even really over yet. It actually goes into October, so we can potentially still see some turtles come ashore and still nest.
Rick Desau, Hawaii News Now.
Super cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see that in person.
Would too, and you would hope even post-pandemic, as people start to come back to those beaches, we still remain respectful so they will keep nesting here.
Yes.
That is so cool. You guys can watch more on that story on our digital platforms. Rick posted a lot more details there. You guys, that's going to do it for this Aloha Friday edition of This Is Now. We'll be back on Monday. You guys stay safe out there.
Have a great weekend.